welcome to Between Two Stacks.
Straight from Washington, D.C., we're here to help you mind your C's and Q's.
So today we have a great show planned for you. We're going to talk about something very important to all of us, the 2018 Political Science Spring Book Bag. Now pay close attention because there'll be a quiz at the end and a chance for one of our viewers to win a brand new Mercedes. Jen?
So we'll be joined by a few special guests today to talk about some of our favorite course areas: American foreign policy, European politics, and the political behavior cluster.
Don't you just love cluster selling?
Sure. Yeah. All right. So our first guest joins us from the lovely city of Boston.
Go Patriots!
Yeah. All right. So here is acquisitions editor Scott Greenan, everyone. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Scott. Okay. So let's talk about Hook, American Foreign Policy Since World War II. So it's now in its 21st edition. So do the math. Basically, that book's been around since like the 60s. And listen, I've met Steve Hook, okay? And so if he wrote that book in the 60s, he had to have been like 12. So my question is, don't you think that there are some ethical implications around letting a 12-year-old write a textbook, Scott?
Well,
I'm just saying.
He wasn't the original author.
How do you know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thing you need to know about the book is that it's for the American Foreign Policy course. So there's basically two different ways that you can teach the course. There's thematic and historical. So for the instructors who like to teach the more contemporary thematic approach, we have Hook's U.S. Foreign Policy, the Paradox of World Power. And then for the ones who like to teach from a more classical, historical approach, you have American Foreign Policy Since World War II. Now, the table of contents in that book examines American foreign policy by working chronologically through various wars and conflicts in history.
Great. So I have the thematic book right here, and I actually see in the table of contents that it is thematically organized. They have chapters like the foreign policy bureaucracy, national security and defense policy.
Right, and the American Foreign Policy Since World War II book has chapters on the Vietnam War and the Cold War.
Great. So question for you, what is your favorite war?
I'm not really a fan.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had to pick.
Yeah, I'm not going to go there.
So anyway, I guess the most important thing is for you to get your roles. I mean, obviously the book's in its 21st edition, so I would think it's got a pretty loyal user base. But what about when you come across this course and they aren't using one of our books?
So when I find a course, I always like to ask, do you teach thematically or historically? We have a Hook for both approaches.
All right. Okay, Scott. Let's move on to European politics. I'm sure our audience is dying to know more about Hancock's new edition of Politics in Europe.
Yeah. So this is a book for the European politics course, and it's pretty straightforward. So if you see the course, sample the book. Here's what to know about the book. It's full of case studies and tons of beautiful pictures of each country profile, and they're all written by experts in the field. Just check out all the authors on the front cover.
Awesome. Thank you so
Excellent.
much, Scott. Scott Greenan, ladies and
Thank you for having
gentlemen.
me.
Okay, so before we bring on our next guest, Jen's actually going to take a few minutes to talk to you about the political behavior cluster. Jen?
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Yeah, so the political behavior cluster is a cluster of courses that includes campaigns and elections, mass media, and public opinion. So really it's any of the ways that we learn about politics or we as individuals interact with our government. So we're really going to focus today on that campaigns and elections course because we have two new editions of our really classic bestsellers for this course. So the first one is Change and Continuity in the 2016 Elections. That's the Aldrich book in this edition going forward, but all of your customers are actually going to know the book as Abramson or the Change and Continuity book. The second book that we have for this Campaigns and Elections course is Political Behavior of the American Electorate. Again, we have a lead author change. So the new lead author is Thies Morse, but your customers are going to know it as the the Flanagan book. So we have the change in continuity, and we have political behavior of the American electorate. So how are you going to know which book to lead with? You're going to have to ask your customers how exactly they like to teach this course. What do they like to focus on? Are they more of a nuts and bolts, what happened in the elections, results oriented kind of professor? Then you're going to lead with Aldrich, change in continuity. But if they're really more focused on how individuals behaved, how our voting trends changed, how we changed how we accessed information about politics, then you're going to lead with the Thies Moore's Political Behavior of the American Electorate book. And don't forget, we have a couple other books that could fit into this course. The Feltus Inside Campaigns gets into the nitty-gritty of how to run a campaign, and we still have Nelson, the elections of 2016.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jen. Now it's time to welcome our next special guest. Again, joining us from Boston. Go Patriots. No, it's not that. Please welcome Executive Publisher for CQ Press, Monica Ekman.
Hello.
So Monica, we have the exciting new brief edition of the Abernathy American Government Stories of the Nation coming out in January. When we meet at the sales meeting, we're going to spend a lot of time digging into competition and strategy. But for now, what can you tell our audience about this book, Monica?
I am really excited to tell you that our author, Scott Abernathy, is working tirelessly at surgically cutting out all the fat of the full Abernathy and reducing it to a beautiful brief so that we can compete in the growing brief market and we can take business away from the leader, Ginsberg Lowy Weir.
Ginsberg
Woo!
is going down.
Going down!
So, very important question, Monica. Just how big is the Abernathy brief going to be? Can it fit in this bag?
Oh, definitely. Fits in that bag easily.
How about this bag?
It can't fit into that teeny
Well-
weeny bag.
You said weenie. Don't you think that this could be problematic for students?
Not at all. We have the ebook, the IEB. And besides, Ginsberg Lowy Weir couldn't fit into that teeny bag either. So the point of this is that we're finally able to compete in individual choice with a true brief that is going to take the market by storm. Really happy for us.
So, yes, what we need you to do now is once you're done watching this video is to complete the exercise that we've set up for you. That's going to help you to identify your top targets for spring for the brief book and come up with a plan of action. Yay.
Yay.
So, looks like we might be out of time at this point. But join us again next week for Between Two Stacks, where we will have another very special guest, Donald Trump.
No,
Wow.
no, that's fake news.
How do you know?